Welcome to our deep dive into the Pequot War, the first major conflict between English settlers and Native Americans in New England. The year is 1636. The arrival of the English would shatter the existing peace, igniting a conflict that would forever alter the landscape of New England. This is not just a story of battles and treaties, but a story of people, the Pequot, fiercely independent and protective of their ancestral lands. The English settlers, driven by a vision of a new society in this new world. The Connecticut River Valley, a fertile land rich in resources, a place of natural beauty and abundance. This valley was home to the Pequot tribe, who had lived here for generations, cultivating the land and thriving in harmony with nature. But by the 1630s, a new force began to encroach upon this land. English settlers arriving in ever-increasing numbers, driven by dreams of prosperity and new beginnings. These settlers sought land to build their homes and farms, eager to establish a new life in this promising territory. The Pequot, accustomed to being the dominant power in the region, watched this influx with growing unease. Their leaders convened, discussing the implications of these new arrivals. The English, with their seemingly insatiable appetite for land, began to establish settlements closer and closer to established Pequot villages, often without regard for the existing inhabitants. Tensions grew as the English, driven by their belief in the righteousness of their cause, saw no reason why they should not claim this land for themselves. They believed it was their divine right to expand and prosper. The Pequot, for their part, saw the English as invaders, encroaching upon their ancestral lands, disrupting their way of life. They viewed the settlers' actions as a direct threat to their survival and sovereignty. The stage was set for conflict, a conflict that would pit neighbor against neighbor and test the resolve of both sides. This was a conflict rooted in the fundamental question of who had the right to call this land home. It was a struggle for control, identity, and survival. The Pequot, fierce warriors, deeply connected to their land, would not give up their home without a fight. They prepared to defend their territory, their heritage, and their way of life with unwavering determination. The Pequot, long the dominant power in the region, controlled the flow of trade furs, wampum, essential goods that passed through their hands. The arrival of the English and their desire to establish their own trade networks challenged this long-standing dominance. The Dutch, already established in the region, presented another competitor for control of this lucrative trade, further complicating the already tense situation. The Pequot, caught in the middle of this three-way struggle, found themselves increasingly isolated. The English, frustrated by their inability to establish their own trade dominance, began to view the Pequot as an impediment to their economic progress. The wampum, those intricately crafted beads made from shells, held not just economic value, but cultural and spiritual significance for the Pequot. This lack of understanding, this cultural blindness, would have deadly consequences. John Oldham, an English trader, a man seeking his fortune in this new world, becomes a pivotal figure in the escalating tensions between the English and the Pequot. In the summer of 1636, Oldham's trading vessel is found adrift off the coast of Block Island. Oldham is dead, murdered, his ship plundered. The finger of blame is quickly pointed at the Pequot, already viewed with suspicion by the English. The colonists, outraged by Oldham's death, demand justice, their cries for retribution echoing through the fledgling settlements. The murder of John Oldham provided the spark that ignited the tinderbox of resentment and suspicion that had been building for years. The English, their minds made up, prepared for war. The Pequot, facing an enemy superior in numbers and firepower, prepared to defend their land, their families, their very way of life. The English, outnumbered by the Pequot, sought to exploit existing divisions among the Native American tribes of the region. They recognized that unity among the tribes would be a formidable obstacle, so they aimed to turn the tribes against each other. The Mohegan and the Narragansett, longtime rivals of the Pequot, saw an opportunity to settle old scores and advance their own interests by allying themselves with the English. This alliance was not born out of trust or friendship, but rather a strategic move to shift the balance of power in their favor. The Mohegan sachem, Uncas, a shrewd and ambitious leader, saw an opportunity to weaken the Pequot and expand his own power. Uncas understood that by siding with the English he could not only diminish a powerful rival but also gain favor and resources from the colonists. The Narragansett, wary of Pequot dominance, calculated that aligning with the English, despite their misgivings, was the safer course of action. They believed that the Pequot's growing power posed a significant threat to their own survival and autonomy. The Pequot, facing a powerful alliance of English and Native American forces, found themselves increasingly isolated. Their once formidable presence in the region was now under severe threat, as their enemies closed in from all sides. The English, emboldened by their new allies, prepared for a decisive confrontation. They believed that with the combined strength of the Mohegan and Narragansett, they could finally subdue the Pequot and secure their colonial ambitions. The alliance between the English, the Mohegan, and the Narragansett was a marriage of convenience, each party motivated by their own self-interest. The English sought to expand their territory and eliminate a significant threat, while the Mohegan and Narragansett aimed to weaken a common enemy. The English sought to eliminate the Pequot threat. They saw the Pequot as a major obstacle to their colonial expansion and economic interests. The Mohegan and Narragansett saw an opportunity to weaken a rival and potentially claim a share of their territory. They hoped that by diminishing the Pequot, they could assert greater control over the region and its resources. The Pequot, facing overwhelming odds, prepared to make a desperate stand against the forces arrayed against them. They knew that their survival depended on their ability to resist the combined might of the English and their Native American allies. May 26, 1637. Dawn breaks over the Pequot village of Mystic, a village like many others nestled amidst the trees, a place of homes and families. The village awakens to the sounds of nature, the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves in the gentle morning breeze. But this dawn will bring not the promise of a new day, but the horror of an unspeakable tragedy. Dark clouds gather on the horizon, casting a foreboding shadow over the village, as if nature itself senses the impending doom. English forces, led by Captains John Mason and John Underhill, approach the village under cover of darkness. Their footsteps are silent, their faces grim with determination, as they prepare to unleash their deadly plan. They are guided by their Native American allies, their knowledge of the terrain proving invaluable. These guides, familiar with every path and hidden trail, lead the English soldiers with precision and purpose. The attack is swift, brutal, merciless. The English soldiers, armed with muskets and swords, descend upon the village with a ferocity that leaves no room for mercy or compassion. The English, their superior firepower cutting through the wooden palisades of the village, trap the Pequot inside. The villagers, caught off guard and outmatched, have little chance to defend themselves against the onslaught. The air fills with the screams of the terrified, the crackle of musket fire, the roar of flames as the English set fire to the village. The once peaceful village is now a scene of chaos and destruction, engulfed in flames. Men, women and children, hundreds of souls perish in the inferno. The flames consume everything in their path, leaving nothing but ashes and sorrow in their wake. The Mystic Massacre would serve as a chilling reminder of the brutality of war, the capacity for inhumanity that lies within the human heart. It stands as a dark chapter in history, a testament to the devastating consequences of conflict and the enduring pain it leaves behind. The Mystic Massacre, a turning point in the war, shattered the Pequot resistance. But the English, their thirst for vengeance unsated, continued their campaign of destruction. The surviving Pequot, scattered and demoralized, become hunted prey in their own land. English soldiers and their Native American allies scour the countryside, relentlessly pursuing the remnants of the once proud tribe. Those who are captured face a grim fate. Many are sold into slavery, shipped to the West Indies, their lives forever changed, their connection to their land, their people, brutally severed. The Pequot War, though brief, would have a profound impact on the future of New England, shaping the relationship between colonists and Native Americans for generations to come. The Treaty of Hartford, signed in September 1638, formally brought an end to the Pequot War. The once mighty Pequot, their power broken, their people scattered, ceased to exist as a sovereign nation. The English, their dominance asserted, established a new order in New England, an order built upon the ruins of the Pequot world. The war, though short-lived, cast a long shadow shaping the course of colonial expansion, defining the relationship between colonists and Native Americans for generations to come. The Mystic Massacre, a chilling example of the brutality of war, would serve as a constant reminder of the human cost of conquest. The Pequot, though decimated, would not be forgotten. The Pequot War, a tragedy in its own time, continues to resonate today, a reminder of the complexities of our shared history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Pequot War. The Pequot War, a clash of cultures, a struggle for survival, reminds us of the human cost of conquest, the enduring legacy of our shared history. We must remember not only the battles and treaties, but the people, the Pequot, the English settlers, the neighboring tribes, all caught in the cross-currents of this conflict.